This is the Uncensored Voice. No bullshit, just real shit.
Discussing things that will stir the pot. Only here on the Uncensored Voice.
With your host, Ricky Midnight.
Sure money's not wasted like that $55 million. Hey guys, this is Ricky Midnight. If you subscribe to my channel, you'll be notified every single time I put a new video out there, or you can subscribe to my channel. That way you'll know when not to watch my videos. But either way, if you subscribe, you'll know. I made this channel as a former police officer so I could let people know what is happening in our government, not just in police departments, but everywhere else in the government. So I'll see you guys in this next episode. I hope you enjoy. Okay, guys, this is Ricky Midnight. I am here with a couple of guests. We're going to talk about some stuff that we find interesting, and I think you will too. I'm here with Ed, and you're a...
I'm a 21 year veteran of the military.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. And right now I'm in the public service sector.
Public service sector.
Yes, sir.
And then we have Teresa.
Nice to be here.
So we're going to be discussing, you can kind of tell that what we're going to be discussing today, we're going to be discussing the psychological impact on people's outlook. I can tell you as, well, someone who's being affected by the Joe Biden administration, I'm a little bit on edge. Every time I go to fill my gas or every time I think about filling my gas, my paycheck just doesn't seem to go as far as it used to because this asshole has now stopped the pipeline. Did he stop it because he's invested in stopping it? Is he investing in cobalt, or is he stopping it simply because he doesn't want Trump's agenda to be pushed? I don't know. We're going to discuss things like that today.
Okay. One of the things we were discussing earlier was basically the psychological impact of all this, the negative. Mm-hmm. How everything is so negative. You watch the news, everything's negative. If you're Republican, you're evil. This critical race theory. You know, these people are evil. Basically what has happened, what is happening and continues to happen is everybody's divided in nice, neat, nifty groups. And they're told that this group over here is the victim, this group over here is the victimizer. And this has been done throughout history. I have a degree from A&M San Antonio, woohoo. I minored in psychology. And a lot of it was because I kind of scratched my head. I'm wondering, what are people thinking? And just looking at it, and I did a little bit of research, and I found a little bit that actually kind of led into it. And if you think about it, and if you take that research, actually the same guy that did the Stanford prison experiment, he actually covered it in one of his books. Basically, people become their role. Mm-hmm. So in other words, what happened with him, he was the warden and he got average people, just average people. And the intent of his experiment was to basically take down the industrial military complex for prisons. Okay. He was very, very left. He was very anti that, very, 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 very. And he started running this experiment. And basically he had a group of people this side, like I said, very extremely average, nothing stood out. Nothing mm-hmm. in the backgrounds. This group of people over here, they were the prisoners. This group over here, they were the guards. And he was the warden. And they actually started to become that role. And whenever they started, they had one thing. Okay, they got paid $6. And the only thing they had to do was say, I'm done. Mm-hmm. They were done. They stopped. Say, I'm done, I stop, I quit, whatever, and they were done. They became so embroiled in those roles that they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And finally, it took somebody coming up to him, and the experiment, I think, was supposed to last a week. It only lasted a few days, a couple days. Okay. I think maybe one day, maybe two. And somebody finally came up to him and said, what are you doing? Because he was becoming so embroiled in his role.
As the warden?
As the warden.
Okay.
That he was actually doing stuff that, was actually kind of inhumane.
Yeah.
So
like putting them in a hole, isolation, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that was, he was allowing his guards, so to speak, to do that.
So he was high on power, basically.
Yes, yes. But he was becoming that role. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's kind of like what we get nowadays. We're constantly told, you're the victim. If you tell somebody they're the victim 100 times and you point at this person over here and say it's because of them, guess what?
They're going to start to believe it.
They're going to start to believe they're the victim.
Absolutely.
And this is being pushed down the throats of so many people. Okay? And unfortunately, the people that are being told that are the victimizers, the one that are getting that label, they're like, what are you doing? What are you. So they're getting all this angst, this anger, this vitriol, this hatred is being pushed. And you also see other aspects of it, even in the English language, okay, where they're twisting and tweaking certain little things to minimize one aspect, but to maximize another. The riots.
Yeah.
Okay, let's think about that for a second.
Okay.
You had federal courthouse get firebombed. You had entire city blocks being occupied. They were called peaceful protests.
Yes.
Okay. You have people dying in those protests. You have buildings. You have half cities being burnt.
Okay, and they wouldn't allow emergency vehicles, whether it
Yes.
be police
Yes.
or ambulance, they wouldn't allow them in there.
Yes.
And that woman, I think she fell from a second-story building and
Yes.
she broke her arm. And they called 911, but they could not get access to her because they wouldn't allow her in. They wouldn't allow them
Yes.
in. Yeah. So
Yes.
things like that. Yeah.
So yeah, you have things like that, but then you have this January 6th thing, this insurrection. And once more, think about the terms and think about the vitriol. Think about the narrative being pushed. You have mostly peaceful. I mean, it was kind of funny. They actually showed the CNN guy. This is a mostly peaceful protest, and in the background you see buildings burning. Okay. You have insurrection, and it's constantly. Even it doesn't matter which media you pull into. Fox uses insurrection, and they're considered or conservative, really, or Republican, but they use that phrase, and it's a lot that people don't even think about that.
I think a lot of that, kind of like what you're saying about Fox, and I'm not trying to defend them, but I'm thinking a lot of that in the media, especially when you're national, you want to use words that are sensationalizing what you're talking about. So you're not going to say something to the effect of, a happening that was possibly a little bit unruly at the Capitol building. You're going to say an insurrection at the Capitol building.
But see, it's not necessarily the minimizing of that, because a riot is a riot, regardless. I mean, it's bad.
yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Straight across is bad. Okay. But there's a difference between a riot and an insurrection. There really is. Insurrection usually involves violence and an attempt to take over the government. What was the violence that we had in November 6th? It was a white girl getting shot in the face.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, we had a few people fighting with the police, but then they also had, allegations that the police moved the barricades and they opened the doors. So, I mean,
I heard about that too.
there's a lot of stuff there, a lot of allegations there. But the bottom line is, you didn't have, the only person you had getting killed was, like I said, that one person. The only weapon that was there was, the police, the one that shot that one person. Okay? Then the only, the level of violence, you didn't have buildings burning. You had knuckleheads dressed in Viking horns and shirtless running around the building and sitting in the speaker's chair. Okay? It's stupid.
Yeah.
Nobody's, nobody's condoning it, nothing like that. It is stupid. But it's not an insurrection.
No.
The disparity in terminologies, it's this side over here you're minimizing. So that's okay. But this side over here, you're demonizing because they are evil. And this has been pushed nonstop, constantly. And it's to the point that people don't even realize it. Think about this. Think about all the people we have coming across the border. At one point, they were deemed illegal aliens.
They still are.
Well, they still are, but not in the media.
No,
No,
but
no.
they still are.
Yes, and you're right. You're
yeah.
right. But once more, that's that narrative. You start pushing this undocumented immigrant. Okay? that kind of rolls off the tongue a lot
They're not
easier.
immigrants.
Right, but I mean,
know,
it kind of
yeah.
rolls off the tongue a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to, oh, poor thing, that type of thing, than to say, hey, illegal alien, you know. That it's just, yeah. And it's all difference in names. The fact that they actually had to remove that from legislation, I believe that they did strike that from their legislation, that term. And it's all because that labeling, that segregating, that grouping people into groups, that these people are the victim, these people are the victimizer. And it's not good. There is so much anger today. You can't have a conversation with other people that don't think like you do.
Yeah.
You can't sit there. You can't debate.
Yeah.
That used to be what they did in the Senate. That used to be what they did on the floor. No, yeah.
I would love to do that on my show. I'd love to have somebody come in here who's liberal, who thinks that I can't think of one good thing Joe Biden has done, but I'd love to get someone in here who thinks that Joe Biden did good and thinks that his policies are great. Come in here and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. It'll make for a good show. I think that it's horrible that, he's every single thing he's done. I can't think of one good thing he's done. And, but still his poll numbers are not below 38. Last I looked, they were at 38. I don't see how they could be that good, other than it being a lie.
Well, I don't think it's a lie. I think there are just some people. Remember that hate. They're told they're the victim. This over here, this is their savior.
Yeah, they're the ones holding on to.
They're the ones holding them up. They're the ones helping them. These people over here, they're evil. And you're always going to have groups that believe like that. And that's been throughout history.
I think it's funny because one of the local, AM radio station hosts said that he actually invited, what's his name? Robert O'Rourke, right?
Beto.
Yeah.
Oh.
I won't use that. That's culturally appropriated.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
So I'm not ever going to use that term for him. He is not Hispanic, and no. But he invited him to come and speak to him about his things that he's saying he wants Texas, how he's going to bring us into, this new era and change, and he won't do it. He won't do it. And
I know he knows about it. I know he knows about the invitation.
Oh yeah, I know he knows about it because he is very well known and has won many awards as a journalist. And but you're not going to debate somebody who has done their research and their homework, and you know that you don't have a leg to stand on. And so I don't see that ever happening. But the invitation always stands. But I would like to be here if you ever found somebody who would do that.
Oh boy,
I think that we spend so much time, just the administration right now spends so much time trying to undo everything that Trump did. People are not doing their homework, but they usually don't. They have to. There's something really bad has to happen for people to do their homework, and kind of like when you were first saying that, the pipeline and. Those things were already in place, and he stepped in and said, no, we're not going to do that. Trump had us at a place where we were almost completely energy, independent. And that was, we were not having to buy all of these barrels of Russian oil. And I just find it amazing because I don't talk about politics in my workplace because I am in a profession that traditionally leans to the left. And most of the people in there are constantly, everybody in there votes for, the whatever his name is, Robbie. And so everybody votes for him, and they encourage everyone to vote for him, and they bash every single thing that Trump has ever done, and none of them knows anything.
No.
And so the other day I had a discussion, and of course I can't say anything because this is coming out of my supervisor's mouth. And she was saying how these ships full of however many millions of gallons of oil, well, they were already paid for. Those were paid for a long time ago. I'm like, no, you don't. You're not understanding. We do this daily. you are putting money in Putin's pocket in this
Every single day, yeah.
Ukraine war that you're so against. And this is what we're doing. We're not at a level of energy independence where we can actually say, no, we're not going to do that. And now you also know, you are aware that China is a known enemy, and they're in bed with the Russians. You do get this, right? And the look, it's almost like your dog when you make a little whimper noise and they kind of turn their head like this.
See, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm
just amazed that you were able to have a discussion, because most of the people, actually, I think all the people I work with are conservative. So I'm not going to get that the other side, right? But I have spoken to a few people who are on the other side who think that Biden or Bernie or anybody else who's far left is right. And as soon as we start talking, they shut me down. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. No, I don't want to talk about it. Well, why do you want socialism? I don't want to talk about it.
That's actually quite common.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't hear anything that goes against their belief, probably because they can't support it.
Yeah.
Once they run out of talking points, they have it.
I think it's because, like I've said before here on the show, you vote and you want what your parents wanted. Your parents wanted, to vote, for Democrat or Carter or things like that. Your parents did that. Your grandparents did that. So you fall into line and you do that. You have no idea what's happening in the world. You don't know anything about the issues that are at hand. You don't know anything about what they were trying to say when they were running, when they were making their campaign promises, as if they follow their campaign promises, and you just blindly vote Democrat. And if anyone says something bad about the Democrat that you voted for, they're in the wrong. Shut up! I don't want to hear it. That's what I'm getting.
Speaking of which, remember, I don't know if you've ever seen these. Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
Howard Stern is left. I mean, he's out there. But
big
anyway,
time, yeah.
But anyway, what he did whenever Barack Obama was running is he did the man on the street thing, and basically he reversed their political positions on everything, and he told these people that these ideas were underneath this person, and they're like, oh no, it's evil, that's evil, it's evil. Then once they figured out that it was his, then it's like, oh no, it totally floored them.
Yeah,
it's because people aren't. I mean. They're not educated. They don't educate themselves, and like you said, I mean, it's about they're used to they're sheep. I mean, that's it. They're sheep. They're being led here, bleeding along, and they're just following.
Yeah, just following what their mommy and their daddy did, their grandparents did, and great-grandparents. We've all voted Democrat, so let's always vote Democrat. It doesn't matter if the Democratic Party said, hey, look, we're going to take everybody's rights away, we're taking everybody's guns, and we're going to have sex with your dogs on a regular basis. We're gonna sodomize your dogs.
Well, aren't that what they're trying to do with the kids? I mean, pushing this transgender.
Well, that's what Joe's doing.
Yeah, the bad thing is, going back to the children thing, they're actually pushing this on the kids because DeSantis down in Florida right now, they're pushing this "don't say gay" thing. There isn't a place in that law that says you can't say gay.
Yeah,
it just says you're not going to push it to what is it? What is
it was K through 3.
Yeah, you're not going to push it
K
on our
through
kids.
3.
Yeah.
So tell me.
And they were actually saying, I guess the left was actually saying that it was going, all ages, and that was one of his key points.
What kindergartner or third grader cares?
Don't say gay is what it was.
Cares about that? What they're interested in is, I like that toy. I want that.
I want to eat that Play-Doh.
I want to eat that Play-Doh. I want that candy.
Yeah,
that's what they care about. They don't care about this other stuff. Actually, what they're doing is they're actually stealing their childhood.
I think what he's saying about the anger and the angst that's coming from that, the administration's not doing anything to help that. They're just making it worse.
Well, they're definitely making it worse.
Yeah, definitely making it worse.
And
the stress level
purpose.
was already there with the pandemic and shutdowns and and people not being able to pay bills. And we see a lot of, of those kinds of problems because we deal with a lot of people who already have limited access or limited funds or, they don't have the everyday things that we take for granted. But then to push the us versus them, ideology and make it's like I think I had this conversation with you before about hate mongering, about making it something where they hate us because you're holding us down, and so we're gonna go against you. And I think we've lost sight of what's really happening. You know, we're so fixated on hating Trump and the person that he is. Do you know why Putin didn't do this when Trump was in office? Because Trump was so unpredictable that Putin was afraid.
Yeah.
One of the things about being the biggest guy on the block, people need to be afraid of you. Yeah. And I hate to say it that way, but, you know, Putin was never going to pull this BS when Trump was in office because Trump told him, I will flatten you. And there wasn't a question there. But Biden is like a meat puppet.
Yeah.
He has no idea. I was listening to something where he was speaking and they were talking about, they were pulling out excerpts of the State of the Union address, right? Because I didn't watch it. And you know why? Because I can't stand him.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Same here.
I wouldn't even waste my energy on that. But they were pulling out, it was actually the KTSA guy, right? He was pulling out excerpts of it. And he started saying something about being energy efficient and then he says something else and he goes right back to being energy. He doesn't remember even what he says.
Yeah.
He circles right back to where he was to start with. So any question that's asked never really gets an answer, right? He just sort of goes around whatever. And I think what they were talking about too was the teleprompter when he said, go get him.
Go get him. Yeah, at the end. Go get him.
They're like,
go get
those
who?
were
What are you
actually
talking
words
about?
for his handlers.
Yeah,
not
go
for
get him off the
Go
stage.
get him
He's
off the
senile.
stage.
He's going to say something stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that the whole world is looking at us, you know, like
Laughing. We're
Kamala
laughing stock, yeah.
was, you know, in talks over there, you know, today, and I was watching that on the news, and they think we're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
You know, we're the joke of the world right now. And it's always going to be that way when you have a president who's completely impotent and senile at that, right? And then you have Kamala, who's actually the trophy. She's just there because of what she is, the boxes that she checks off. She has no idea what she's doing. Come on. And as a woman of color, I'm offended.
Yeah.
I'm offended.
Yes.
And you know why? Because I don't want that to be the representation for me.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. It's there. I didn't vote for it, but, you know, that's the beauty of the American, you know, voting system. You can vote for who you want to, whether it's right or not.
Hey, guys, this is Ricky Midnight. Tune in for the second half, 6 o'clock a.m. this coming Friday. See you guys then.
Thanks for listening to The Uncensored Voice.
Make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And remember, on The Uncensored Voice, we tell it like it is.
So be safe, my friends, and may God bless America.